Hey athletes, it's time to debunk the cue. You have to shrug up. Okay, now, what is that referring to? So let me actually change the camera angle for a second so you can look at me. So, what is that referring to? So, when you put your arm over your head, a lot of coaches will say, hey, you need to shrug up, right? You got to shrug up because that provides good shoulder stability or good mobility, whatever the reasoning is, okay? Now, what I'm going to show you is why that's not a good thing, okay? Shrugging up is not what we are looking for, okay? So, some people refer to this as a floating shoulder situation, and again, that's something we want to avoid, where the actual humerus bone is out of its socket and only supported by some muscle, okay? Once that shoulder comes out, your scapula isn't on appropriately, the muscles of your spine aren't really helping that shoulder, your collarbone, your scapula, not in the right positions, not doing what we need them to. And I'm going to show you why that is and how I can say we need to kill the cue of shrugging up, okay? So, this is going to get a little intense. You might need a notebook. Now, I'm going to be referencing two different books, and I'm going to try to keep up with the references as we go. So, first book that we're going to be referencing is a very thick book, How the Body Works, by Dr. Peter Abrahams. Well, he's the editor. Yeah, whatever. Then, I'm also going to be referencing one of my old books, actually, my ISSA certification book. Now, this is the 2013 edition, edition 8.6.6. So again, it's an old book, but you know what? The information is still the same. The musculature of our systems haven't changed, right? We don't adapt very quickly. So, here's what we've got to understand. I've talked about this with the shoulder press videos. Now, it's time to prove it. So, hopefully you guys can see this. Maybe I'll bring it up. You know what? I bet I can zoom. Let's zoom in. Thank you, smartphones, for being so cool. So, check out this image. We're looking at abduction of the arm. Page 215 of, again, the How the Body Works book. So, this is a bony structure of what's going on. So we have your scapula, your shoulder blade, the humerus, which is your upper part of your arm, and then your collarbone, your clavicle. Now, these three are making up what we're going to be talking about. So, as we lift our arm up, as you can see, the shoulder blade, okay, has to rotate up. Right? And we've talked about this in our shoulder press video. It has to literally stay here and rotate up. Now, as that's happening, certainly the collarbone has to lift up a little bit. And then from there, again, our humerus can rise. Now, Josh, what does that mean? So, what that means is that, as I stated in the shoulder press video, or how to stabilize over your head, and that was a coach's video, and if you haven't seen it, go check it out. Your shoulder, again, your shoulder blade has to rotate out. Now, what are some of the muscles that do that? So let's see if we can pull up a few of the anatomy shots here. So, I'm going to do my best to explain this to you in the easiest way I know how. Looking at this book. So now we're on page 175. So here's your shoulder blade, okay? Now, the way your shoulder blade is, your scapula, here it is. This is what we're looking at. So what we see in this picture is this piece and this piece. They're called the spines of your shoulder blade right here, okay? So here's the lateral spine, the outer portion, and here's the medial. I'm sorry, lateral, medial, my bad. So again, here's the medial. So if this were flipped, this is what we're seeing. And then again, medial, lateral. Now, in order for your shoulder to rise up just a little bit, like we saw in that picture, to go from here to here, just for your shoulder to even rise up a little bit. In order for that to happen, we have this supraspinatus muscle here. This one helps your shoulder come up. Great, okay? Now, this muscle is not to be confused with the upper part of our trapezius, okay? The muscle that causes us to shrug is this upper part of our trap. Now, not to be confused, we want to use our trap when we're doing our shoulder blade movement, and I'll show you why. The middle part of our trap and the lower part of our trap help rotate, externally rotate our scapula, okay? And they also play a role in helping the shoulder blade move outward. But as we move this back up, hopefully it's not zoomed in, and I'm sure it is. All right, as we are lifting up, okay, as we rise our arm up, our shoulder blade, again, has to not only come out, but it has to tilt. So it has to tilt and come out in order to create stability. So the middle part of our trap, the lower part of our trap help externally rotate, tilt it away, and then muscles in our lat, and I'll show you, muscles of our lat, lateral dorsi, right in here, muscles of our lat, our teres minor, and then our infra, so before we were talking about supra, now we're talking about infraspinatus, those help rotate it out. Again, we need to make sure that rotation happens. So our trap helps keep it tucked, helps it externally rotate, while other muscles assist in bringing it outward, okay? Medially bringing it out. I'm sorry, laterally bringing it out. All right, Josh, that's great. Cool, whatever. What about the shrug up crap? So, the upper portion of your trap, okay, your trapezius, does this. It helps us lift our shoulder girdle up, okay? This can be great if we're trying to carry something, if we're trying to get something up a little bit higher, or in the case of a weightlifter, when we're doing our total body extension, okay, our shoulders rise and our upper traps do that. Okay, Josh, so if our lower trap and our middle trap help stabilize and rotate out the shoulder blade, why wouldn't it make sense for our upper trap to come into play as well? And here's why. So the way that the upper trap works, okay, according to my ISSA book on page 94, so, like I said, our middle trap helps upward rotation, and it helps, and our lower trap does the same. Now, our upper trap right here, and I hope you can read this, I'll bring it in. Oops. So, our upper trapezius, you can see it says under action here. It rises the scapula, and it helps extend the head. It has nothing to do with rotating outward. Well, great, Josh, you already described that. But the upper trap is only meant to help the shoulder blade lift up. So when it's over our head, you can see in this picture again, when it's over our head, we don't need that shoulder blade to rise up, okay? If the shoulder rises up, the entire scapula will rise, the clavicle will collapse a little bit more, okay? And we lose the ability of our middle and lower trap, we lose the ability to continue externally rotating, okay? So here is where we want it. Totally externally rotated, and here. As soon as I shrug up, it causes internal rotation, okay? Because the way that the upper trap works is, again, it's going to bring up and forward. It's actually going to turn on more of our front, our anterior muscles, more of our pectorals and the front of our delt in a negative way, and it's going to cause internal rotation. And again, it's going to take away our body's ability to externally rotate because our shoulder's up here, causing our floating shoulder to happen. So, because our scapula isn't down and tucked in tight, rammed up against all of our other bony structures, and once it rises up, there's nothing of structure actually holding it there, okay? Our humerus comes out slightly out of its socket, and it's literally called a floating shoulder. So, when we're doing a dumbbell snatch, when we're doing a barbell snatch, we need to make sure that our scapula, our shoulder blade, stays down, tucked down, and flared out, but not up. So we have to keep our neck muscle, well, our upper trap muscles off. Because again, as soon as that scapula rises, we lose its ability to external rotate, and that's what's going to help set all of the other muscles into play when we're doing an overhead stability exercise like the one-arm snatch. So, lastly, and let me flip open my book. If we have just the upper trap on, okay, so here we go, let's turn this again. If just the upper trap is on, we lose engagement in our lat, our teres minor, our infraspinatus, and our teres major. There we go, that's the one I was thinking. So we lose all of the muscles of our back that actually connect into our spine. We lose all of those engagement due to just one little muscle turning on. So also, if just our upper trap is holding our arm up, which it's already floating at this point, we lose all of this muscle. The largest chunks of our back are now turned off. So again, from an efficiency standpoint, why would we turn off all of these muscles to have just one turn on, when if we don't shrug up, we can have all of these muscles turn on and lock in tight, because they all work synergistically. They all work together, coming in towards our spine so that we keep our spines safe. So not only would shrugging up cause a floating shoulder, but we lose control in our spine due to the fact that our muscles aren't 100% on, okay? Because again, you can still use a little bit of your mid and upper trap. Your mid and lower trap. You can still use a little bit of your lat, your supraspinatus, your infraspinatus, all of the teres minors, teres majors, all of the other muscles. You can use them a little, but it's not optimal. So we gotta kill the cue. Shrug up when you're holding something over your head, whether you're doing a dumbbell snatch, a shoulder press, anything. Keep your shoulder blades tucked down so that they can rotate out.